What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast. This is the ACC betting preview, part 2. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson. Today, we will cover the remaining 9 teams in the ACC: NC State, North Carolina, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, Syracuse, California, Wake Forest, and Stanford. And we will also hit on Notre Dame, which will conclude our preview of all 136 college football teams. Make sure you check out the previous pods. Quick reminder, Windy City Watch Party, week 0, August 23rd, Joe's on Weed Street in Chicago. I'll be there. Colin will be there. Breeze, Duck, producer Matt Mitchell. Doors open 11 a.m. for the kickoff in Dublin. We'll be there all day. Drinks, sweating games. You don't have to RSVP. Just show up. Bring whoever you want. Drinks on me. Looking forward to meeting some of y'all there. Kerner and Raybon will also be there doing like a live NFL fantasy draft type thing, which will be fun in the afternoon. And speaking of which, quick heads up to anybody playing fantasy football this season. The Ultimate 2025 Draft Kit is here, courtesy of our Fantasy Labs team. That means our guys, Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon, have their rankings, tiers, and cheat sheets ready for you. But first, to get them, you'll need a Fantasy Labs subscription. And right now, new subscribers can use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. Let Sean and Chris make your fantasy prep easier. Use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. Best in the business. Don't go into your draft without them. All right, let's get into it. We disagreed on everything in part 1, literally every team. Let's see if we agree or disagree on part 2. We'll get to some of the dregs in the conference and some of the middle tier. We'll finish up our previews with Notre Dame at the end. Let's start with NC State. This is a program I think is falling behind in the new world, just from an NIL perspective and the way that they wanted to develop teams in the past. They're going to look a lot different. There's a new offensive coordinator, Kurt Roper. I think they're probably going to go more tempo. He hasn't called on offense in 8 years. The defense, who's a really good defensive coordinator, took the Marshall job. Their defense also got gutted. Their defensive backs could be really bad. I'm really concerned there. Defensive line, you lose Van, who did a lot for them. So there's a lot of questions on this defense. Offensively, CJ Bailey does come back at quarterback. I like some of their weapons that they have. You know, Smothers at running back, Rogers. They need some other freshmen to step up at wide receiver. But tight end, Jolly, he's a stud. Or Jolie, I love him. The former UConn transfer, had a huge year last year. The problem is the offensive line. This is very, very, very shaky. You lose 3 to the NFL. You know, Zeke Corral, your center, all ACC. Your guard, McKay. Belton, who was drafted in the 2nd round. So your center might be, can you guess where he's from?
Purdue.
So it's could be a freshman starting on that offensive line. That offensive line really worries me, and it really could all fall apart. So it might be a long year for NC State. If you want to take a long shot on the best, you'll find out there 50-1. Win total over 6.5. Best price out there plus 125 you want to go over. They do avoid Clemson, SMU, and Louisville. Their ACC road games, Duke, Wake Forest, Pitt, and Miami. But they only play one of the projected bottom 6 in league play. It's the one thing that I like about the schedule is I am very, very worried about the secondary, because their whole secondary transferred out or went to the NFL, and they transferred out to Power 4. If you look at their schedule, who really scares you from a passing perspective? ECU, Virginia, Wake, Duke, Va-Tech, Campbell, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, North Carolina. Like, it's not the worst schedule for a potentially bad pass defense. That's something that positive that I will say, but not really a fan of this NC State team this year. It screams like a 6-6 team to me. I do project them like 6-4-ish. So I'm not going under, but I'm not particularly high on this team. I think some overs early might be valuable. I'm so mad I didn't hit that ECU. I talked about this like a couple weeks ago, the ECU NC State over week 1, and it's done nothing but take money. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be an absolute shootout because I think ECU's defense takes a big step back. There's probably going to be a lot of tempo in this game. I think it's going to be a back and forth affair. What are you seeing with the Wolfpack?
Well, I focus mostly on CJ Bailey because I love him coming down the stretch what NC State was able to
You got
do.
to remember, he's true freshman last year, too.
Yeah, but then you get into some of his analytics, like he nearly had twice as many fumbles as he had rushing TDs. And then when you look at his throwing, 14 big time throws to 18 turnover worthy plays. Now Casey Concepcion is gone, so your highest targets is Justin Jolly, probably the best tight end in the ACC. But he's got excellent numbers, and he's got even better numbers as a blocker. But at the same time, like I don't like his numbers in the passing game. He was a freshman, so I give him a little bit of a pass there. But the number of fumbles, like it's the reason why, like for years with Cam Ward, it's like sure you're going to get 20 rushing TDs, you're going to get 20 fumbles too. So CJ Bailey needs to clean that up. Noah Rogers is the burner at wideout with 2 yards per route run. There are over 100 career starts on the offensive line. Not that they know each other. I don't think you can get much worse than last year. 129th and havoc allowed. It's a huge red flag when you want to back an offense, especially with a quarterback that had more mistakes than big time throws. Defensively, it's interesting. DJ Elliott's going to come in and take over for Tony Gibson. It looks like we're leaving the 3-3-5 and going to the 3-4. Havoc is still everything DJ Elliott's saying. They were 17th in Havoc last year, top 30 in defending the rush. Can they keep up with that, even with a scheme change? But then again, I think you would agree with me. You would want a scheme change to out of the 3-3-5 if your secondary is the thing that you're scared of the most. He called a 3-4 at Temple, Kansas, and Colorado. So with this position that their secondary is in, I would expect them to play less guys in the secondary, maybe move a guy up, maybe a 4-2-5 or maybe a 3-4. I don't know. Well, he called a 3-4. We'll see what they do. I actually make their number at 7, which means I should be hitting the over. But when I look at this, no team faces NC State off of a bye or back-to-back travel. It's a pretty clean schedule. That ECU number is trickling down, potential upset. And if you look at having 2 new coordinators, questions all over the place, secondaries and offensive line that have never played together. I mean, that is upset city in week 1. Virginia week 2 is just literally a game that you need to read the box score to figure out which offense between NC State and Virginia made the least amount of mistakes. And then you travel to Notre Dame and you host 3 or 4 in November. But it's the toughest part of the slate. Georgia Tech, FSU, North Carolina. I can't go over on this team. I know the mathematics say to do it. I lean to the over, but new coordinators, new secondary, bad quarterback analytics. I'm not going over on NC State because I agree with your first thing that you very said. I think NC State's on the down, and I'm not going to get over on that.
Yeah. O-line, secondary, that's really what worries me for this team in particular. All right, let's move on to North Carolina. We'll stay in state. Obviously, a team in the news a lot in the offseason because they brought in none other than Bill Belichick. They also brought in his son, Steve, from Washington, makes the trip across country to become the defensive coordinator. Freddie Kitchens stays on staff, takes over as offensive coordinator. As you'd expect, this team lost a ton. Gio Lopez will take over at quarterback. The South Alabama transfer. Can he make the leap? Can he stay healthy at this level? They lose 7 of their top 8 receivers. They lose Hampton, who was everything to the offense, ran for 1,500 plus last year. The offensive line has some guys back. I like a couple of their ads. So the offensive line has some potential. Kobe Paysour has to be that alpha. He has to be that guy at wide receiver for them. But they lost a lot. Defensively, I mean, as you'd expect, their top 8 defensive linemen are gone. Their 2 stud linebackers are gone, one to the NFL, one to Penn State. And in the defensive backfield, guess what? They lost a lot as well. But the defense wasn't great last year, to be fair. They bring in some Washington guys like Dixon, who I like. Gibson, I also like, another ECU transfer. That ECU defense, I think, is going to be really bad, by the way. House, I think. I like House. They're linebackers. So there's Simpson comes from Boise at linebacker. There's some pieces to work with here. Also, along the defensive front, we'll see what Belichick can do. Obviously, a high variance team, like all these new pieces. Belichick, how is this going to work? Does he know how to run a college team? Does he know how to manage these kids throughout the season? So we'll see. We'll see if their special teams takes a step back. They were a top 20 unit last year.
Yep.
Here's the kicker. If you want to bet on North Carolina, you could bet on the greatest NFL coach of all time, which I couldn't argue with. They're 50-1, by the way. Best number you'll find out there. Win total is like over 7.5 plus 140, or over 7 minus 140. Best you'll find out there. So the win total is sitting somewhere between 7.5. The schedule. They hit the scheduling lottery. They avoid Miami, SMU, Louisville, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Pitt. Their ACC road games are Cuse, Wake, NC State, and Cal. They only face one of the top 7 or 8, depending on where you have Duke. And that's Clemson, and they're coming off of a bye. We'll see what Belichick can do with 2 weeks to prepare for Clemson. Like the schedule, it started off with TCU, won't be easy, but then, Charlotte and Richmond, UCF on the road is going to be down. So this schedule, just everything broke right for them from a scheduling perspective. Can Bill make it work? I project 7.5. So I do show a little bit of value in the over, but I just have no idea what to expect. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is how it's going to go. I still want to see how camp goes. They're one of 2 teams in the league, in the ACC, that have a new quarterback, head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator. The other is Wake Forest. What are you seeing with the Heels?
Just having a hard time finding one coach on this schedule that's going to be able to outsmart not just Bill, but Steve, right? I mean, at least Steve has a year of experience as a defensive coordinator, and we know.
Dabo.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Boy, that's interesting. I think we should expect them, no matter what product they put in the secondary and the linebackers, to have a good pass defense because of what Steve Belichick has been able to produce. My question more is around Freddie Kitchens, what he's going to do with Gio Lopez, because, we've kind of mishmashed a new offensive line together. We don't really know what our weapons are or pieces. We think Kobe Paysour is going to be it, but Gio Lopez was a force at South Bama last year.
The skill positions are definitely a major question. Like, do they have enough talent with the skill positions? Like running back on down.
They do. Yeah. I was going to say, they do a quarterback. They do a quarterback, right? I mean, he had 7 touchdowns, 2 fumbles. I think he had 250 designed yards, 250 scramble yards. Like, Gio Lopez can get out there and move. More importantly, he has the analytics that I want from a big-time throw turnover-worthy play, 18-13. So I think this offense can make something happen. I just don't know what Freddie Kitchens is going to call. I don't know if he just sees something out of his offensive line or he sees something that he doesn't see out of the running back room and decides he wants to go more pass heavy. So really confused, kind of a mystery what this offense is going to be. Defensively, I think they'll be fine from passing, from coverage perspectives. And then you look at the schedule and you say, how many of these rushing attacks are going to beat them, right? TCU is not bringing a rushing attack. So, I know the number is steaming on TCU a little bit and people want to back the Horned Frogs, but you're kind of throwing into the teeth of what the best coaching aspect is going to be. I don't see any power rush teams on this schedule. I don't see Jake Dickert. I don't see, Dave Doran. I don't see Tony Elliott outclassing this coaching staff. So but again, it is college game. So we'll see how it turns out. I don't have a bet on this. I can't do an under or an over because there's too much mystery. And you just can't plug NFL guys in. And by the way, there has been some success of NFL guys moving into college and putting down pro-style schemes. And college teams don't know how to deal with it because college has been so flooded with the spread. That's why the triple option has worked so well for some of our cast service academies, because everybody sees the spread in high school. We'll see. We'll see. It's a pass for me. I would go under. I would lean to the under, but the schedule's too soft. I believe the defense can be picked up, and I love Gio Lopez, but I'm not going to take an over at this number.
Yeah, huge range of outcomes for North Carolina. Like if you wanted to sit there and commit yourself to bet an all under, or you wanted to take a flyer and 50-1 for some couch change because of the schedule and Belichick and all the roster uncertainty, I couldn't argue with you either, but probably staying away for me. All right, let's move on to Pitt. Pitt had an up and down season. Started 7-0, finished 0-6.
A lot of fluky box scores. Remember when they got to 7-0?
Yeah. I mean, they should have lost a couple games. That Cincinnati game comes to mind. Then the schedule got tougher. And then to be fair, they dealt with a lot of injuries.
Yep.
At quarterback and the offensive line. The defense also wasn't as dominant as it has been in certain years. They do have Holstein back at quarterback. I'm not in love with him. He did have ankle surgery in the offseason. Desmond Reed, I love at running back. Can he stay healthy the whole year? Young depth behind him. They do lose their top receiver to the NFL and a tight end to the NFL. I don't love their weapons. I don't love the guys they brought in. I mean, they didn't. This is not a heavy portal team. It's another team that might be, just from a program, that might be falling behind in the new college football landscape. New left side of the offensive line, going transfer heavy. Worry about that as well. The defense, it's Pitt, so you can always expect them to have a pretty good defensive line. They lost a couple, but they have some guys there that they brought in that are decent. The linebacker room is stacked. The secondary is a bit of a concern for me. You lose a good cornerback and safety. You have one good and one coming back, and you lost one good one and another. So you need two guys to step up in the secondary. And the secondary is so important for what Pitt wants to do because they leave a lot of guys on islands, play a lot of quarters as well. So we'll see if they can figure out the secondary. But the defense does have potential. Special teams was elite last year. They do lose their stud kicker. We'll see if they can be as good. Explosive passing, it was an issue on both sides of the ball. They got to shore that up. They got to get more explosive, and they got to limit some of the explosives on defense. That's kind of the nature of the Pitt defense. If they're not firing on all cylinders, then their secondary isn't very strong. They're going to give up explosives just based on their scheme. From a scheduling perspective, they do avoid Clemson. They avoid SMU. They get it's an odd schedule because they get Notre Dame, Miami, and Louisville, but they're all at home. Florida State and Georgia Tech on the road. The rest of the schedule is pretty manageable. We'll see how good West Virginia is. That's not an easy game on the road. But a lot of their tougher games are at home. And then, like, you're going to Cuse, you're going to Stanford. We'll see if they can take care of business in those games. Like, the schedule, it could be like last year. They start off hot, faded. I don't like a lot of their depth at certain positions because their close is brutal. Notre Dame at Georgia Tech, Miami at home. But maybe that Miami with the weather, that helps you a bit. If you're looking to take a long shot on Pitt, best you'll find out there 45-1 to win the ACC. Over 6.5 is plus 120 is the best number you'll find out there. I project 6.25. Don't love this team, but it's the ACC. There's some wins out there to be had. What are you seeing with the Panthers?
Disagree. I love them.
Wow.
Look.
You're a Holstein guy?
No, I'm a defensive Narduzzi guy. But, I mean, the Holstein is like, listen, he gets 3 of his top 4 receivers back. He finished with a horrific 12-20 big-time throw to turnover-worthy play rate. And also the offensive line finished 117th in pass blocking. So a lot of it could be that also. If we get any kind of improvement, which the offensive line is supposed to be trending better than it was last year. Tons of injuries after a 7-0 start. I understand there was a lot of fraud box score. They covered just one game after that. I think it caught up with them enough to where they burned off that good luck at the end of last year. So there's not really a whole lot from the offense. I do like offensive coordinator Cade Bell, who came in, from Western Carolina, because they finished 5th in tempo, which is what
up tempo offense.
Yeah, tempo all the time. So, but really the defense, 9 of the top 13 tacklers are back. Edge Jimmy Scott led the team with 40 pressures. Linebacker Rasheem Biles led the team with 5 PBUs. Insane coverage numbers from a linebacker perspective for Biles. 100% expect the Narduzzi defense to replicate the rank of 14th in Havoc. That's just what Narduzzi does. They were 3rd in line yards. I completely expect these numbers and these analytics. They could be better from a quality drives and finishing drives perspective, both around 60th, about mid FBS. Special teams were in the top 20 again. They've got a senior punter, a junior kicker. There's a lot about this team that I like. And then with the schedule, they're going to start 2-0. And then they're going to take their defense, their top 20 run defense, and they're going to go face West Virginia. And what does Rich Rod want to do? I think they win the brawl. I think Pitt wins the brawl. Nice bye week.
Having those linebackers will be big for that game.
Yeah.
They got some good ones.
A nice bye week comes in before hosting Louisville as a dog. I'm not saying they're going to beat Louisville, but it's a bad spot on back-to-back travel from Florida State to Syracuse. So Orange are going to be off a bye week there, but then they get a great scheduling break when they have a bye week before hosting Notre Dame. Not that they can win that game. It's just good that they have the time off. So I think the ACC scheduling gods for sending Miami up there as the last game of the year. That's a gift. I like the over. I make it 7.1. I think the defense is going to be just as potent. I think Holstein could get a little bit more protection. I think those turnover-worthy plays, 20 of them, is a lot. It's a lot of mistakes. But if the offensive line protects him a little bit more, we have a little bit better luck from the injury standpoint here. I think we can get over this number. And again, I've said it before, this schedule, it breaks well in places that they needed it to break. It's not the easiest one in the world, 49th in the country. So I'm going to stick with Pitt here. I'm going to go over, plus 115, over 6.5.
Yeah, again, we disagree. No thank you on Pitt. But I was wrong on them last year. I had the under last year. I'm not sure. I probably won't get there to go under, but I have no interest in going over. Let's move on to Boston College. You want to take a shot on them? 150 to 1 is the best you'll find out there. Over 5.5, plus 110. So to get to a bowl plus money, that's basically what you're betting on if you want to bet their win total. Quarterback battle here. We'll see if it's Grayson James, who took over for Castellanos last year, or Dylan Lonergan, the Bama transfer. I think Lonergan gives him a higher ceiling, so I'll be curious to see who wins that job. Both are a better fit for what O'Brien wants to do. Mm-hmm. Running back room, they're fine. Wide receiver, got some experience coming back. What I'm worried about is the offensive line. This is not a heavy portal team. They might only start one player from the portal. But this is a transition year for BC, in my opinion. It all comes down to BC. Like, they want to develop. I respect O'Brien as a coach. They want to develop in the trenches. They usually send a lot of offensive linemen to the NFL. Well, they sent 3 from last year's team. And I'm not sure that they're going to be anywhere close to the level they were at last year. And this is a team that wants to run the ball, set up play action. So the offensive line, I think, takes a big step back. And the same with the defensive line. You send 2 to the NFL, including one of the best players in the ACC, and Ezeruke from their defensive end, who did so much for them. And Horsley, their nose tackle, is also gone. And you're just not replacing NFL caliber linemen with high-level guys. Like, it's some depth guys that on the offensive line that struggled a couple years ago when they started, or some lower-level guys. So I think I like the secondary. I like Crouch at linebacker. The secondary, they had a ton of injuries last year. A ton of guys stepped up. They have a lot of pieces to work with in the secondary. But I think this story of BC this year, big step back in the trenches. And when that happens, they usually finish 5-7. And I think that's where they're headed. There's just, it's not a team that's infusing itself with a ton of talent every offseason. And I think this is a transition year. We'll see. I kind of like some of the pieces in the back end. Like I mentioned, they're going to play nickel on like 90% of snaps. Mm-hmm. From a scheduling perspective, they host Clemson, Notre Dame, and SMU. I think that's bad. Those are games I think you'd rather have on the road because you're probably not going to win them anyway. They don't have a bye for 7 or 8 straight weeks. So they start with Fordham, at Michigan State, at Stanford, and then Cal at home. You got to start I think 3-1, minimum 2-2. But I think to go to a bowl, because their last 8 games are vicious. And there's no bye.
A lot of teams off byes.
And then they're at Pitt, then Clemson. UConn, who comes off a bye before you go to Louisville. Notre Dame, SMU, Georgia Tech, and then finish at Syracuse. That is brutal. As brutal as you can get for a final 8-game stretch. So you got to try to start 3-1 here to give yourself a good shot at a bowl, in my opinion. I think this just comes out of the trenches. Too much of a step back. I project a little under 5.5. So I'm not too far away from market, but certainly would lean under. What are you seeing with the Eagles?
I'm at 5.6, so it's a complete pass. I think if I could get a game of the year line on Cal visiting Boston College, I would definitely back the Eagles on that one. Cal will be on back-to-back travel. Boston College will be off of a bye. That is some serious miles there, and I wonder what time they'll schedule that game. So that is definitely a place where I would be looking to back Boston College, but the remainder of the schedule, I mean, UConn's off a bye, Notre Dame's off a bye, Georgia Tech is off a bye. Does Boston College do they have 3 or 4 wins, and do they treat that Syracuse game as their bowl? That's actually a better site to play than, say, the what's the one in Detroit, the Meineke Car Care Bowl, the Quick Lane Bowl. I would rather be playing Syracuse. I think the other thing, too, is from a quarterback perspective, we don't know what Dylan Longerman's going to provide. Grayson James is still trending negatively and more mistakes than he is big-time throws. I agree with you. It's a complete transition year. I make it 5.6 right on the number, so I'm going to pass. And but look at that September 27th number. I do want Boston College against Cal.
I will be betting BC against SMU. Red bandana game. All right, let's move on to Syracuse, who had a dream season last year, won 10 games. I was dead wrong on them last year, but they're probably going to take a massive step back. Their win total is down to, you can go under 5.5 minus 185, or like under 5 minus 120. 100-1 is the best number you find out to win the ACC. This team got gutted. They lost 7 of their top 10 tacklers, but more importantly, their offense just was destroyed. I mean, you lose everyone important. McCord, your quarterback to the NFL. LaQuint Allen, your running back, who was also so good out of the backfield catching the ball. Your top 3 receivers, 4 starting offensive linemen. I don't like a lot of the guys they brought in along the offensive line. There's some talent at receiver, but we'll see how there's a quarterback battle here. Angeli's kind of like the veteran. Collins, kind of the more talented guy with more upside, but not as experienced. This offense might take a bigger step back than any other team in the country. We know they're going to, they're one of the most pass-heavy teams in the country. Well, at least they were last year. So we know they're going to try to throw it, and they just lost so much from a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, offensive line perspective. This offense, major step back. Defensively, there's questions as well. I am super low on this Syracuse team. Cherry on top is the schedule is brutal. This is an impossible road schedule, the hardest away from home schedule in the country. You start with Tennessee and Atlanta, at Clemson, at SMU, at Georgia Tech, at Miami, at Notre Dame. Like, they're going 0-6 there. Mm-hmm. So in order to get a 6, can they sweep at home versus UConn, Colgate, Duke, UNC, Pitt, BC? I say no, and I think that there's a better chance of them having 3 or 4 wins than 6 or 7. I will be on the under. I project them at 4.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got them.
So I will be going under, even though this is moved. Look out for the Demetrius Samuel, their stud true frosh. He's like their version of Travis Hunter. He's probably going to start at corner, and he's probably going to play some receiver. Really exciting player. We'll see what he can do. But this schedule is just absolutely brutal, and they lost so much. I mean, even on the defensive side too, you lose all 4 AAC guys. All 4 all ACC guys. You lost Diggs, your best pass rusher, to the NFL. You lost both of your linebackers, Wax and Barron, to the NFL. You lost Clark and Lewis, your defensive backs, to the NFL. And then in the spring, you lose Watson and Edwards, who were going to start. And then you lost Bellamy and Gold to UCF. They were probably going to start. So, I mean, this schedule is just brutal. They faced 7 of the top 9. The away from home schedule is bleak. To illustrate how tough it is, if you take the seeds, so the projected seeds, so I might projected 1 through 17. If you take all the road games in the ACC, so say you faced the number 1 projected and number 10, that would be 11. If you add up all the road games of the seeds, Syracuse is at 10. The next lowest is 24. Like, it is absolutely brutal. They lost the scheduling lottery. If I'm a Cuse fan, I'm happy with that, though.
Yeah.
But you want Fran Brown to keep the momentum. You probably want to try to get to a bowl. But this is going to be a rebuilding year. It's going to be a long season for Cuse. What say you?
I agree with everything you said, and I'm on the under 2.
We agree.
Yeah. I make
agree in the ACC.
I make the win total at 4. Let me tell you what bothers me, because you did a pretty good job covering everything else. So let me tell you what bothers me. Fran Brown comes in from Georgia as he was a defensive backs coach at Georgia. And that was a very highly respected hire. Syracuse finished 130th in creating a contested catch last year. This guy was the defensive backs coach at Georgia, and he was highly respected. 130th contested catches. They finished 111th in PFF coverage grading. They finished 112th in defensive passing success rate and 120th in giving up pass explosives. I'm not impressed with like the job that Fran Brown was supposed to do was clean up this defense. So I'm going under. I don't believe in this coaching staff whatsoever.
Yeah, the defense, they just want to limit explosives is really what they're trying to do.
Well, they didn't.
And then they want to just try to create a negative play. But you lose Diggs, you lose your linebackers, you lose two defensive backs to the NFL, and you lose a bunch in the sprint. Like,
I mean,
not a great situation.
You could argue that you walked into a shitty situation, right? But I think Steve Belichick walked into a shitty situation at Washington off of a national title game and losing everybody. And what did Washington do last year? Finished number 1 in defensive passing success rate. That's Steve Belichick. Fran Brown gets here and they finished almost dead last and created a contested catch. Okay. Yeah, I don't believe in this coaching staff. Under.
All right, let's move on to Virginia. You want to take a shot? You get 100-1 to win the ACC, over 6.5 plus 130. This is Tony Elliott, desperation mode. He's 11-25. They brought in a ton of guys in the portal. They lost one of their projected tackle in the spring who got hurt, but they got to fix their offensive line. They did have a ton of injuries last year. They allowed 9+ sacks twice in ACC play last year. It was a disaster. But they had a top 25 portal class. Why? They had money. They got the largest one-time cash donation in program history. Unanimous. I don't know. Who was it? Chris Long, maybe? I don't know. Ohanian, whoever, the guy who started Reddit, Serena's husband, he gave them a big donation recently, but I think a lot of that went to women's programs. But they got a big cash infusion. And so they have money now. They went and spent. They brought in a ton of guys in the portal. That includes a new quarterback in Chandler Morris. But this isn't his usual air raid offense. Does he really fit this? I don't know. I don't love a lot of the guys they brought in. It's that they have a lot of the experience, good portal class. Like, there's some variance here. The schedule also gets much easier than last year. They avoid Clemson, Miami, SMU. They get to face Wake, Stanford, and Cal. So there's some things to like about Virginia. I project them at 6.2, which is pretty much where the market is when you account for juice. I think the swing game for their win total, they game at Cal. And then also, like, late in the year, where is Vatek? What is Wake like? What is Cal doing? What is UNC doing? Like, these are teams that could be really good or they could quit. So there's a lot of variance with this team from a roster perspective, a scheduling perspective. Does the coach even make it through the year? There's just a lot of moving pieces. What are you seeing with the Cavaliers?
I want to like them. They had one of the highest numbers in transfer activity and returning production, our TARP ratings that we had. So it gave them a PR bump. I want to like
them. And they had the easiest ACC schedule.
Yeah. And Chandler Morris, 5-year career, 40 big time throws, 39 turnover worthy plays. It's not the worst. It's not the best, but it's an upgrade at Virginia. The receivers are coming in from the portal. I mean, none of them have flashy numbers, and running back is Xavier Brown, 4.3 yards after first contact. So he can create some noise on the ground. 4 of the top 5 tacklers return. The defensive line portal pieces are from Alabama and Ohio State. You would expect you to have better than what you've had replacement player at Virginia. Virginia continues to finish. Here's my problem. It's the same problem I have with Tony Elliott, because literally I want to go over on this win total. I actually mathematically make them like 7.2, which says I should be going over because 6.5 is a plus money. But here's the problem. Every time I get into my account and I look at my money and I decide that I want to bet, I can't do it on Tony Elliott, because Virginia continues to finish outside the top 100 in tackling. They are outside the top 100 in middle 8. They're outside the top 100 offensive momentum killer. If you don't know what that is, that means they're constantly getting penalties. They're constantly missing field goals. They're constantly fumbling the ball. They're constantly doing things to shoot themselves in the foot, which includes just horrible rankings year after year and third down conversions. 117th last year. Like, they can't get anything right. And this was supposed to be his wheelhouse.
Hoping that some of these transfers help them get pressure.
But they're sloppy. They are not well coached. They never tackle inside the top 100. They never do anything on the offensive side that gives them enough offensive momentum to have a quality drive. 121st in quality drives, that's what you were brought in here for. So I can't part with my money on Virginia, and I want to. I hate it when the math and the returning production and all these things go in the spreadsheet and it shits out this projected total, but I can't do it because this team continues to underachieve in analytics that are extremely important, like tackling, like penalties, like quit fucking it up, and they keep doing it. So I'm completely not paying attention. If you just want to look at the math, you're supposed to take the over. I can't do it. Not with Virginia. I can't do it, Tony Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott, I'm not a believer in. By the way, and we'll see, like the offensive line, they're still trying to figure out. A lot of transfers are they're still moving pieces around. Cornerback, also a major question. They still don't know who's going to start there. Safety, they should be okay, even though they lost Sanker to the NFL, but they still have a lot of experience there. Clary comes back from injury. The corners, like, I don't know who the corners are going to be. Is it an Army? Like the Army kid might start? I don't know. They bring in Neal from Louisville at safety too. So safety's okay. Corner, and then can they get pressure? They need to finally get pressure, but I don't trust Elliott. And guess what? One of their starting receivers, guess where they're from?
Purdue.
All right, let's move on to the dregs. Cal, Wake, and Stanford. Let's start with Wake Forest. Jake Dickert comes in. They had a pretty good transfer class. It's going to look different here because you're used to the slow mesh Wake Forest offense. It's no longer going to be that. It's going to be your power spread option. I believe it's going to be Robbie Ashford that wins the job, but he's in a battle with Deshaun Purdy, the Charlotte transfer. It's a very transfer-heavy offense. I look at they lost their top 4 wideouts. I'm worried about their weapons on the outside, and also if like Ashford can even get them the ball. The good news is the star of the show is back, and Damon Claiborne. He's a beast. Mm-hmm. He's going to get a ton of touches. The offensive line loses all 5 starters. 4 to Power 4 teams. They bring in a couple Wazoo guys. Dickert brings with him, like 3 maybe could start. We'll see how that works out. Like Ashford, he's going to be running a lot. It's going to be more outside zone. It's going to look different. You might see some more 12 personnel based on who they have. Defensively, new defensive coordinator as well. They could be okay at linebacker. Worried about corner. Could have 2 FCS starting cornerbacks, which does worry me. But Ashford, I guess, is a good fit for like their. It's going to be a lot of RPO, quarterback run, outside zone read, and you got a really good running back. But does the offensive line come together, and can they throw it all? Is what I'm really concerned with, and also cornerback. Major concern. So we'll see from a scheduling perspective. ACC road games, Florida State, Duke, Virginia Tech, Virginia. Not bad. They avoid Clemson, Miami, and Louisville. So it's a manageable schedule. And you got a runway to get off to a decent start. Kennesaw, Western Carolina, NC State at home before a bye. That NC State game's huge because if they can start 3-0, there's a good chance that they can find themselves going over the win total of 4.5, over 4.5 plus 114 is the best you'll find out there. 500 to 1 to win the ACC. I wanted to go under. I just don't think this is really going to work. But I project 4.5. So it's a pass for me. What say you on the Demon Deeks?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jake Dickert because you are supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, and the defensive analytics at Wazoo continue to trend down every single year. And I can sit here and say, oh, we're pulling in a bunch of Washington State players on the offensive side. But remember, that was Ben Arbuckle's offense. So we could talk about top 25 quality drives and finishing drives. That belongs to OU. That's not going to belong to Wake, what Wazoo produced last year. When you look at them defensively, Wazoo finished, bottom 10 in almost everything, including tackling, finishing drives. There are things that I don't like about the defense that I think are going to be on this Wake Forest side of the ball. They have some players here and some experience, but again, Jake Dickert has not been able to produce on the defensive side of the ball. I don't expect him to do it here.
And it's a lot of lower level guys. Like you look who might start. It's like Colorado State, Idaho, Western Kentucky, UConn. on the defensive line. And then I already mentioned maybe FCS starting corners.
I do like Rob Zell. He was the OC at South Alabama.
Yeah, he does some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, South Alabama. I know Fluff and Geo and all the guys that they had. They were fourth in the country in creating explosives, sixth in line yards, 11th in finishing drives. That's not just players, that's coaches. They were second in the nation in standard down success rate. So if Wake Forest can get anything like that offensively, especially with Claiborne, that's a positive for them. But then again, I make it 5.1. I can't go over because I'm not a fan of Dickert. I'm not a fan of the defense. It's a pass for me, but I would play the over if I was in. I've been in win total snake drafts before. I would definitely draft Wake Forest in the over.
Yeah, again, with the ACC, you have some of these volatile teams in these volatile situations. UNC, what are they like at the end of the year? What is UVA and FSU? Because they play them in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And how I think this plays out, how they go over. Kennesaw, Western Carolina, and Delaware at home. You assume that they can win those games. Can they go 2-2 in these four? NC State at home, week 3. UNC at home, late in the year. At Oregon State. That's a tough spot, too. That's going to be a tough game. And then at Virginia. Where's Virginia at mentally? That's pretty much what I'm asking myself. But I'm close to market on Wake. Not a team that I love. Don't think I'll be back them much. But I do love Claiborne. Like their linebackers. Safeties could be okay. But a lot of other questions. But let's move on to one of the other dregs in Stanford. This Stanford team is going to be bad. They're now dogs at Hawaii. Depending on if, say, Kent State closes as a favorite at home against Merrimack in week 1, which isn't a guarantee, I think that the team that has the best chance of being an underdog in every game is Stanford. So I have them right now an underdog in every game. I haven't projected underdog in every game. Now, some of them are close. San Jose State at home, the Hawaii game, Cal at home. But other than that, I mean, BC at home is like 6-7. Pitt at home is like 8.5. Other than that, they're double-digit dogs in every game. They could be underdogs in every game. Taylor got fired in March. Frank Reich comes on as the interim. They lost more key guys in the spring. They've gone 3-9 for what? 4 straight years. It's bad. I mean, you're likely going to have Elijah Brown starting at quarterback, your redshirt freshman. He just lost so much across the board. There's not much to like about this team. They travel 26,000 miles. So many key contributors lost. There's the one good thing is they only play 2 teams that have the same quarterback. So they play a lot of, same with Virginia. That introduces a lot of variance, like a lot of these teams with new quarterbacks. But I can't find much to really like about this team. It's still a brutal schedule. One of the 10 hardest in the country. Road games, Miami, UNC, SMU, and Virginia. It's the second toughest in the ACC. At BYU and Notre Dame in the non-con. Start at Hawaii. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 winnable games, but I'm not sure they get many. This looks like another 3-win season for Stanford. Wouldn't be surprised if it's worse. Over 3.5 plus 145, or you can go over 3 even money. I project 2.63. You got a new offensive coordinator coming in. What do you like about this team? I can't say much.
I have them directly on 3 with a conference win total of 1.77. So I don't like the schedule. I think it's 10th toughest strength of schedule. I don't like the fact that they lost David Bailey on the defensive side. Ben Goldbertson, the transfer in from Oregon State, is the most experienced quarterback on here, and I don't know where he's going to fall on the depth chart because there's so much youth.
Yeah, they might go with just like the more experienced guy too.
and from what I've been told, Frank Reich is not here long term. Like this isn't Andrew. This is a
Andrew
holdover.
Luck's going to do his search during the season.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They're going to do their due diligence and just kind of wash the season, I guess, focus on recruiting or whatever. But, I mean, schedule wise, you get 3 buys. That's great because you're playing week 0. But 2 of those buys come with travel to BYU and travel to SMU. I don't think they can't beat those teams. I think you can beat Cal. We haven't talked about them. So I wouldn't say it's completely abandoned and go under. But I would struggle to find 4 wins on this schedule. So I would look for an alternate total of under 3 because I don't know. You can't. I can't. If I can't even name 4. I can't even name 3. Staring at the schedule, like San Jose State is going to be remarkably better than what my number makes it a pick'em game. I don't think it's going to be a pick'em game in the market. I think San Jose State's better. They have an offensive identity. Pitt is just going to maul them. You're not going to Miami. You're not beating Belichick, right?
the thing is, they might be able to like catch a team like Pitt or UNC late.
Virginia,
like they might be able to catch a team that comes out west and is just sleeping. Like Pitt, I could see that happening with Pitt.
BC is one. Yeah.
Yep. So it could happen. There's just
but 4 games. You can't find 4 games on the schedule.
No, it's good. Would have to be the result of other teams helping.
I'm not a fan of Hawaii.
I think they're going to lose to Hawaii, but I like Hawaii more than you. It's bleak. All right, let's finish up before we get to Notre Dame.
It's bleak.
Finish up with Cal.
Speaking of bleak.
Yeah, under 5.5 minus 145, or you can go under 5 plus 130 at circa 150 to 1 to win the conference. Similar to Stanford, like it's just the vibes are bad. There's like a boycott from the boosters. Rivera running it. I don't know much longer Wilcox is going to be there. They lost a ton on their offense in the portal. You lose Mendoza. You lose your top 2 running backs. All the running backs post-spring. Your tight end went to Texas, who was really good. Your top 5 receivers went in the portal. All of them. Your quarterback, your top 3 running backs, your top receivers, your tight end, they all went to Power 4 programs. The D also was elite last year. Wilcox specialty. The secondary was so good, one of the most underrated in the country. Well, you lose 3 to the NFL. They had 3 NFL guys in that secondary. You also lose Correa up front with Richard Rundy. You lose your sack leader in Carlton, and then you lose Buchanan, your other linebacker, to the NFL. In the spring game, so I don't know, it's going to be Devin Brown at quarterback. There's your true freshman, I think, is the better option. 4-star, but he's super raw. In the spring game, the offense scored 0. The first team offense scored 0 points on 7 drives. Brown had 3 picks. But this D was so good last year, and with the talent they lost and who they're replacing them with, I'm not sure we don't see a big drop off. And then what does this offense have after, especially after what they got hit with post spring? It's like I like the linebacker room. Wilcox should get the best out of this D, but they lost a lot. He is 1-18 versus winning teams. Usually covers against with a big number. He's really good as a big underdog. Just back him as a spread, doesn't usually get the win, but his defenses usually keep them in it. They do also play 5 teams off of buys. Their road games in the ACC: BC, Vatekville, and Stanford. Not terrible. Like they have 9 winnable games on the schedule. Like, hear me out. At Oregon State, winnable. Texas Southern at home. Minnesota. At San Diego State. At BC. Duke. UNC. UVA. At Stanford. Now, are they going to win them all? No. But the schedule is pretty favorable. If only they had the schedule last year with last year's team.
Yep.
But, I mean, you lose your stud quarterback, your top 10 rushers, 11 of your top 12 receivers, and you lose 3 defensive backs to the NFL, your top stack guy, linebacker to the NFL.
6 of the top 7 tacklers.
Yeah, your best run defender in the interior. Like, I don't like their new OC. So I don't know. I mean, this has been beat up to the under. I project 4.9. A lot of that's based on the schedule, but this could all implode too. And some of those wins that you want to get for the win total, Virginia at home, at Stanford late, and things could go up in flames by then. So what do you see? You in agreement on Cal? It's gonna be a long year.
It's interesting, Brian Harsin taking this job after the off-field dumpster fire that he went through with the personal stuff that he had at Auburn, to jump into this situation where, basically everybody that has money with Cal wants Ron Rivera to be the head coach here. And Wilcox said, I don't know who Wilcox's agent is, but you should have been on the horn this past year. Crazy enough, I make this actually 5.8. I think it's schedule. I think it's because of schedule, 61st strength of schedule here. And some of the defensive numbers are there, but they lost everybody. And it's hard to put your finger down and say, this is why I'm betting this team from an offensive or defensive perspective. The numbers defensively continue to get worse for Cal, and Wilcox is a defensive coordinator. So I don't know if there's a coach that's more on a hot seat than what's going on here. And when you look at their experience on offense, what they lost, especially from the receiving perspective, like who's your biggest, like Tron Grizel, 27 catches, 401 yards. That's it. That's the only thing they brought back from a receiving perspective. Rushing, gone. Everybody.
Well, if Devin Brown's a quarterback, who cares? Because you're not going to throw it anyway. And then you lost all your backs.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right about the schedule, though.
There's a lot of winnable games on here. And like some of these other teams could be worse than we think.
But there's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams playing Cal off a bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that I do like to pay attention to who comes to Cal on back-to-back travel. That is Duke and Virginia. So, I mean, those are places where if we could just get a little schedule, it'd be 9 p.m. on the CW or something like that, get a little late action and berserkly going, you can snag the wins. But yet that you can't predict that right now. So, for me, if I had to play, I'd play an over because I'm at 5.8, but I'm not rushing to the window for this.
It wouldn't surprise me they only ended up winning 2 or 3 games, but it's a very volatile situation. All right, that finishes up the ACC. Let's quickly, before we get to Notre Dame, favorite win totals, futures, picks to win. I'll start. I kind of like Clemson under. My biggest edge is Vatek over. I will be betting Syracuse under. Georgia Tech long shot, maybe, but Louisville is going to be my horse. Louisville is my pick to win the ACC.
Okay, well, I'm not going to disagree on the Louisville love. I'm over 8.5, minus 130. I mean, I'm definitely betting that. Clemson plus 105 to win the ACC. They won't be an underdog.
Oh, and Clemson no to win the ACC.
All right, we can go. You put it on the board if you want. I mean, that's fine with me. It should be. Right. You actually should be like minus 115 or minus 120. I'll give it to you for free. So we're picking no juice.
No, out there it's minus. Like you can find Clemson minus 110 to win. So
okay, we can put it on the board. I hate it. I'm gonna end up playing Georgia Tech under 7.5 plus 125. Don't really like some of the the pieces they're going to try to run that offense. I don't see the protection coming for the quarterback. And then with Duke, I'm going over 6.5 minus 160. If you can find a 7, I go out there too. I projected 7.7. Duke is funded. They have money. They have an upgrade at quarterback. I like the direction of their program. Miami, I'm going under 9.5 minus 148 or an alternate line if you can do it. Pitt, I love them. Stuck hates them. Over 6.5 plus 115. And then finally, I'm not sure if I'm going to put it in, but Florida State under 6.5 plus 125. I don't think this Gus Malzahn thing is going to work out as well. They're not developing players. They're not retaining players. No one gets any better when they get to Florida State. There's something in the water there. I'm not going to say anything about what Norvell's doing down there, but something's not working out. So I like under 6.5 plus 125.
Cuse under 2. That's the only thing we agree on.
Yeah, definitely. And then Virginia Tech. I think I'm gonna bypass win totals and just play them. I'm gonna put a bet in. I think there's some 7.5s, but I think there's an 8 out there. I'm gonna bet them 8 in week 1 against South Carolina, and then I'm probably gonna throw a little money line in there. You can definitely count them in the round robin under week 1 money line dogs, and that will kind of serve as my investment on a belief that Virginia Tech is gonna make some noise this year.
All right, let's finish things up with Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish, who had a hell of a year under Marcus Freeman, is doing a really good job building this team, depth, recruiting. This program's in as good a shape as it's been in
Yep.
maybe over 30 years. I kind of remember for you hating on Freeman a little bit. I've always loved Freeman. I know you've come around on him. He's done a tremendous job here in South Bend. Made it to the national championship game last year. There are some questions with this year's team. Like the secondary, obviously you lose Watts and Morrison, but the secondary should still be very, very good. Linebacker, you lose Kaiser, but the linebackers still should be very, very good. You also add Devontae Smith from Alabama to play the nickel spot. The defensive line, you got a lot of talent at the defensive end position. You do lose Cross and Mills, so I'm a little bit worried about the defensive tackle. They're still going to be good, but could see a drop off there. Offensively is where I'm worried the most about Notre Dame. Now, I think they upgraded their weapons, right? Like you bring in Fields and Pauling for Collins and Mitchell. So I think they're better at wide receiver. But tight end position, I'm worried about. They just had another injury as well. I'm not sure Eli Raridan's the guy. Evans has gone off to the NFL. Offensive line, bring a lot back, but Jagasaw got hurt. So that's worth noting.
It's not. I mean, it's just another day at the land of Notre Dame and offensive linemen.
Yeah, they were able to overcome that last year. So I feel like I don't even want to talk about that much because they were going to Texas A&M. But Similar to last year, their season's going to come down to the beginning of the year. Yep. But the running backs are loaded, led by Love, who might be the best in the country. But you also have Price and Williams. They are elite. But the questions that I have is at quarterback. Because I'm not hearing good things about CJ Carr right now. Like Kenny Minchey is like neck and neck, according to some. Minchey was he was supposed to go to Pitt. And then Notre Dame was just like, oh, we'll get you because they didn't get more. And now he might start. So, is Lloyd Carr, I lost a lot of money betting Lloyd Carr. Now it's his grandson. So I'm not hearing great things about CJ Carr.
Yeah.
So, say what you want about Leonard. He led them to the national championship. There could be a big drop-off at quarterback. We'll see. And you got to be good right away, especially for this win total. Win total sitting at 10.5, juice to the under, minus 150-ish. Because your schedule gets very easy late. It's at Miami and Texas A&M are your first two games. That's going to make or break your win total. Because then after that, it's Purdue at Arkansas, which maybe is tricky, but you get Boise at home, NC State at home. USC won't be easy at home. And then you get a bye. Then it's at BC, Navy at home, at Pitt, Syracuse, at Stanford. You should take care of business in a lot of those games. So very high floor for this Notre Dame team. Obviously one of the best teams in the country. But there's questions, just like a lot of the top teams, with their quarterback. I have them power rated 6 going into the year. And I'm concerned about quarterback. We'll see how the Jagasaw injury works out. Tight end. Defensive tackle, how much of a drop-off is there? Defense should be excellent. Although Al Golden's gone, so new defensive coordinator Chris Ash spent the last 4 in the NFL.
You're going to get a lot more coverage looks than what you had before with Al Golden.
But we'll see. It's all about CJ Carr. That's if they're going to reach. I'm talking to reach their potential.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Vinci. In order to win a national championship, that's the Notre Dame standard right now. Where this program is, can Carr be that guy right away? Maybe it's next year, but a lot of the pieces are in place. If the quarterback's there, and then in regards to the win total, with questions on the offensive line and the quarterback early, your 2 hardest games are your first 2 games. So what are you seeing with the Fighting Irish?
I would think that is the line being hit for Miami because CJ Carr came out and had 3 interceptions in his first practice, and he hasn't really followed that up really well either. But Kenny Minchey, what's the knock on this kid? He's just as highly touted. He can play quarterback, and I'm not really sure. If we don't get our CJ Carr, is that really worth dropping this number down below 3? I make Notre Dame a clear TD favorite, and I think SP Plus has it at 4. So I don't know where this number is because you still have Jeremiah Love.
Well, that's because you hate Miami.
Well, I do, but I also, Notre Dame also is too deep on the offensive line. Jagasaw, I'm not even going to worry about an offensive lineman getting hurt with these guys. They're throwing freshmen in at left tackle, and they're fine. They're dominating the line of scrimmage, everybody they play. So, Jeremiah Love, the offensive line brings more experience than what they had a year ago at this time. So I'm really not worried about that. Slot Jaden Greathouse, he has developed over the last 2 years into an extremely explosive wide receiver, 2.1 yards per route run. That is a major weapon for whoever does get to play quarterback out of the slot. You're going to see more coverages with Chris Ash.
Greathouse is good dealing with an injury too, worth noting.
Yeah, I mean, we're still lining up and handing the ball off of Jeremiah Love down there on that turf in Hard Rock, So, look, defensively, Leonard Moore just really came into his own last year, like turned into a shutdown corner the last 6 games of the year. So he is elite for them, especially through the college football playoff run. 5 of the top 7 tacklers are back. The D finished top 6 in coverage, quality drives, finishing drives. Best team nationally in defending the explosive pass. I love Notre Dame. I make them 10.55. I would go over 10.5 at plus money and look for maybe a potentially down spot to get them out of, but I don't think it's Texas A&M off of a bye. And, maybe Arkansas could be a trap game, but at the same time, I see Notre Dame's defense just completely swallowing Taylor Green trying to run the RPO. Where's the gotcha game after that on the rest of the schedule? Pitt.
Yeah, Freeman always loses one. That's the one. He always loses one he's not supposed to. Marshall, Northern Illinois. Maybe it's at Pitt, maybe it's at BC, maybe it's
Purdue, right?
It's USC at home. We like USC, so
yeah, it's true. So
they start 2-0 at Miami, Texas A&M. They're going to go over.
Yep.
They go 1-1. It's going to be a close race.
Well, I think minus. So, what is your drop off on them to make the playoff? Because here's the thing I debate. It's like a 10-2 Notre Dame team in every single season is making the playoff. Period. And even if they expanded, I mean, maybe they could be 9-3. But because of who they are and because of what they are, 10-2 makes the playoff. So I don't see them finishing with 9 wins on this schedule. It's minus 160 to make the playoff. I mean, that's essentially over 9.5 minus 160. That's a good bet. So I don't know. Where's your cutoff point on them making the playoff?
Yeah, I think go 10-2. They're probably making it.
There's never a world where they're not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously other things can happen elsewhere. It depends on what they're like. If USC's really bad, and then Boise's worse, and then they lost to Miami and Texas A&M, like the resume will look bad. But it is Notre Dame; it's a TV show, so yeah, they would probably make it. I project them 10.2, but I am very worried about the quarterback, and then the tight end drop off. That's like a young quarterback wants to rely on. Now the running game is gonna be great. The offensive lineup will be fine, most likely.
You want to take Miami week 1?
I might, but it's come down. I mean, I make it 2. So, but if I might drop Notre Dame if there's some injuries that they're dealing with right now. But if the quarterback play is a disaster, we'll see. I still want to get more intel on Miami as well, but definitely an interesting case that Notre Dame will be in the mix all the way until the end. By the way, if you do see me play Miami, it will come through on the award-winning Action Network app. And if you want to see every college football pick track from me, Colin, and Duck this season, you need the Action Network app. We've got some huge improvements and updates coming in the weeks ahead. Very excited to share them with you when they go live. But to get the most out of the app, you'll need to also be an Action Pro subscriber. With Action Pro, you get real-time pick alerts from our entire Action Network team of experts, plus Action Pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. BBOC listeners can save $20 off the annual price of Action Pro. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and use code BBOC20. That's actionnetwork.com/pro and use code BBOC20 for $20 off the annual price of Action Pro. Speaking of Kerner and Raybon, myself, Duck, Colin, we'll all be at the watch party August 23rd for week 0, 11 a.m. Doors open. Joe's on weed. Hope to see you there. 5-star reviews. If you can do so, it'll help us out. Make sure you subscribe, tell friends, tell enemy. That'll do it for us. By the way, week 0, we will have a group of 5 preview. We will have our preview, and then we will have a recap episode with myself, Duck, Colin, Breeze. We'll recap all of our favorite bets from all of the conferences based on where the markets are at the time. And week 1 will be here. We'll have 2 previews week 1. Live shows will eventually be back after that, but we'll preview like the Thursday and Friday games on one episode, and then the rest of the weekend. So we're almost there, people. They'll be here before you know it. Thanks to Colin for joining me. Thanks to Duck and Breeze, our producers, for all of their help getting out previews for all 136 teams. We hope you enjoyed all the countless hours of content. We're just getting started. It's year 9, baby. Let's have a season. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.